Welcome back, folks. Series, parallel, neither, both. We've talked about series and parallel. We're going to do a lot of practice with this in the next couple of videos. But what I'd like to do now is talk about the cases of neither or both. Just because something isn't in series with another element doesn't mean that it's in parallel. We got to be careful of that. We got 4 options. That's 8. This is 4. We've got 4 options we got to consider: series, parallel, neither, both. So let's look at neither and both. I went back to this circuit that we used in a previous video. It's just got a lot of stuff going on, right? And we want to look for elements that we know how they're connected. So in the coming videos, I'm going to say, tell me what's in series, tell me what's in parallel, and then we're going to look at how we can combine them. For this circuit, I'm going to be a little more specific, and I'm going to say I'm going to ask you how 2 elements are connected together. So to start us off, I'm looking at VS and R1, and I want you to pause the video and think about how those 2 are connected to each other. Okay, so I'm going to give you a moment to pause. All right, and hopefully you figured out what you think is going on. We've got to look at the nodes. How are they connected? Do they share a node exclusively? Are they in series? Okay. VS and R1 are connected together up here, but R2 is also connected there, so they don't share that node exclusively. VS and R1 are connected down here together. That's a hint. But R4 is also connected there, and so is R6, so they don't share that node exclusively. Okay, so VS, and that's an ampersand as best I can draw. Don't share a node exclusively. And therefore they are not in series. Okay, but I did say that, well, they're connected here together. They share this node. And they also share this node. And since they share the same 2 nodes, they are in parallel. Okay, so they're not in series. They share the same 2 nodes. And therefore they are in parallel. Okay, so we got to take 2 elements at a time and say, okay, are these in series? Are they in parallel? Well, in this case, VS and R1 are in parallel, but they're not in series. Okay, let me pick out some other ones. Let's say R2 and R3. Okay, and let's consider what's going on with R2 and R3. I'm not going to write out as much as I did just a moment ago, but let's look at R2 and R3. R2 is connected over here and here, and R3 is connected over here and down here. So they don't share these nodes, but they do share this node in between, and not only do they share that node, but they share it exclusively. And there's no place for current to turn off. There's no off-ramp, right? If the current goes in this way, it's got to come out down here. There's no place for it to get diverted. And I think that's the more important thing. But sharing a node exclusively guarantees that they're going to be in series. Okay, so I can say that these are in series, not in parallel. Okay, so those we've already covered. Neither, because it happens that sometimes 2 things are neither. Let me pick out some good ones here. Let's do R4 and R6. Those 2 resistors. How are they connected to each other? Let's see if I can squeeze it up here in the margin. Okay, R4 and R6. Well, let's see, R4 is connected here and here, and R6 is also connected here, so they do share a node, but they don't share it exclusively because R1 is connected there, and so is VS. So they're not in series. Okay, and R4 is connected to this node here, but R6 is not. All right, so they don't share the same two nodes. They have to share both. So it is also not in parallel. Okay, so it's not in series, it's not in parallel, it's neither. They're connected neither in series or parallel. So we've got to remember that that's an option. Don't get stuck thinking that it's one or the other, because that's not true. There's four things you got to consider. And in that case, they're neither. Okay, now both. Both is kind of a neat one, if you ask me. And it's common enough that I think we need to talk about it. So how can they be connected both in series and in parallel? What kind of shenanigans are we talking about here? And it comes down to a circuit that looks like this. Okay, I think I already drew it once in an earlier video. If not, it's such a common circuit, because when you take any load resistor and you plug it into a voltage source, you're going to get a circuit that looks like this. It's like the most basic circuit you can draw, and that's why it's so common. Okay, this ends up being both. Let's consider the nodes. There's only two nodes, right? There's a node on the top, and there's a node on the bottom. Are they in series? Do they share a node exclusively? Yeah, they share a node exclusively. In fact, they share both nodes exclusively, which makes this configuration so unique. If I put current in here, it's going to flow up, and it's got to end up going through the resistor. So they share this node exclusively. Nothing else is connected to it. They also share this node exclusively. Right? If I stick current down here, it's got to end up coming up through the voltage supply, and nothing else is connected here, so the current can't go anywhere else. So they share this node exclusively as well. So they share both nodes exclusively. I cannot spell exclusively today for some reason. Exclusively, and therefore they are in series. And they also, well, there's only two nodes, and they're both connected to both of those nodes. So they share the same two nodes, and therefore they are in parallel. So they are both in series and in parallel. And what that tells me is they're going to have the same current flowing through them, and they are going to have the same voltage across them. Okay, series, parallel, neither, both. So change the way that you think about that if you need to, so that you don't get trapped into thinking it's one or the other. All right, what we're going to do from here is start to build more complex circuits with resistors, and we're going to practice this a little bit, because it does take some practice, and it is very important to practice this so that you can identify when things are connected in series, when things are connected in parallel, when they're neither, or when they're both. So that's what's coming up in the next set of videos. So take care and good luck.